lack of credibility in the William Ruto and Joshua Sang trial. One of the witnesses is now allowed to leave The Hague. In light of the witness crisis facing ICC prosecutor Fatou Bensouda, the Ruto defense has now requested the court to terminate the case before mid-July. The presiding judge, however, told the defense teams that it would be premature to end the case at this point, since several other prosecution witnesses are still scheduled to appear before the court. Yesterday, the prosecution applied to have the case adjourned to June.
In light of Mr. Khan's submissions just now, the chamber grants the prosecution some request to withdraw this witness from the witness list, and the registrar is directed to release the witness in the normal course.
I will not object on this occasion to an adjournment until June or July, end of June or beginning of July, but with one important caveat. The prosecution do not have the luxury of choice. They do not have a right to delay. It is the defense, pursuant to Article 67, that has a statutory right to an expeditious trial. The bench, yourselves, as well as the defense, have previously said that reserve witnesses should be available on standby to fill sessions, to make sure that hearings are meaningful. Your Honour, we want this case to close before the summer break. It is causing, understandably, huge difficulties for the clients, for Mr. Ruto, for Mr. Sang. Their name has been tarnished long enough. We want this case to come to an end. Your Honour, there's no reason why the prosecution should be given an indulgence to have adjournments as if it's a matter of course. So what we're saying, on this occasion, we're being, once again, reasonable. We're saying, okay, have your adjournment until June, even the beginning of July. But at that point, you get your witnesses together and you close your case once they've testified and been cross-examined, subject to the witnesses that are subject to the summons application. That ring-fences our work. It's an efficient way of proceeding, and we say it's the appropriate way.
We're not going to require the prosecution to close its case subject to the summons application. So I can tell you it doesn't work that way. If there are some witnesses that are still in the zone or issues of that nature that remain to be resolved, there are other ways of dealing with it other than saying close your case subject to possibility of calling some other witnesses. Let's not do it.
Tana Water Services Company has launched a 14 million shilling project that seeks to enhance water supply in Solio village, Laikipia County. Under the project, several boreholes will be drilled. According to Tana Water Services Strategy Manager Timothy Kibaki, the company will drill 7 boreholes in each of the 7 villages, which will serve over 10,000 people who were resettled in the area by the government in 2009. The company will also initiate another program of dam construction to supplement the borehole supply so that residents can have enough water for both domestic use and irrigation. Speaking in the village, Kibaki said that a master plan of tapping water from both Mount Kenya and Aberdare has already been initiated to enable residents to do farming even in dry seasons.
We need to develop more sources, and particularly even try to make sure that we have enough for domestic use and also for livestock, and even at a later stage, water for irrigation. It is for this reason that the board has already initiated a program of constructing dams throughout the board area, and particularly in village number 5, there is one dam that is going to be constructed soon.
The United States International University has adopted Africa into its name and has unveiled a new logo. The university will now be known as the United States International University Africa. The university's new identity represents a culture that fuels on innovation and free thinking in line with the institution's tagline, education to take you places. While speaking at the rebranding ceremony, the university's Vice-Chancellor, Professor Frida Brown, said the institution is investing in strategic structures that will help them provide quality education to adequately contribute to Africa's development.
we have tried and built this institution. All we need is tomorrow. It must continue to remain as it is. And we leave all these responsibilities to the students who are going to pass through, to the faculty members who are going to teach them, and on top of it, the administration who are going to look after them.
When I came to Kenya almost 20 years ago, I wanted to make sure USIU developed strong graduates that can compete in the marketplace or any academic institution. I wanted USIU to have a stellar reputation and an institution that alumni, faculty, staff, and students could be proud of.
The AIDS Healthcare Foundation officially opened their new Africa headquarters in Parklands today. The plaza will house the AHF Africa Bureau headquarters, the AHF Global Quality Management Team relocating from Amsterdam to Nairobi, and the Clinic and Wellness Center. Among those who attended the launch included nominated Senator Zipporah Kitoni, local area MP Tim Wanyonyi, Nairobi Deputy Governor Jonathan Mweke, and the special guest Senator Kiraitu Murungi.
It has killed a lot of our people. Even people, we have spent so much money to educate and develop skills. So it has really undermined development in our country, and indeed in the rest of the world. And therefore, being a global challenge, we are very happy that the AHF, as a global organization, is coming to offer some practical solutions to this challenge.
Further afield, security was tightened across India as counting began today for nearly 550 million votes cast during the mammoth general election. Tension that has built up over the 5-week election will be released in a few hours as the Election Commission tallies votes cast in the country.
The Election Commission began collating results sent in by 989 counting stations from 8 a.m. Indian time. Preliminary figures showing how many seats a party is leading in may give an early indication of final results. Now, if the results of the world's largest exercise in democracy are in line with exit polls, opposition leader Narendra Modi's Hindu nationalist Bharatiya Janata Party, BJP, and its allies will win an absolute majority of the more than 272 seats in Lok Sabha, that is the lower house of the Indian parliament. That would open the way for Modi, who is 63 years, to act quickly to form the core of a new government by naming loyalists to the prized cabinet posts of finance, interior, defense and foreign affairs. Modi has retreated to his home base in Gujarat, where he will wait for the election results on Friday before flying to New Delhi for what would be a hero's welcome from party loyalists clad in BJP's orange colors. Willis Raburu, Citizen, at 1.
In news just in from The Hague, it indicates that the ICC trial against Deputy President William Ruto and journalist Joshua Arab Sang adjourned until the 16th of June 2014 due to witness hitches. Of course, we'll bring you details of that developing story as and when we get them. Let's now take a look at your business news. And in your business news this afternoon, the cost of electricity is set to increase starting this month. In a statement, the Energy Regulatory Commission has said the fuel cost charge will go up by 39% to 7 shillings and 22 cents per unit as the country switches to the more expensive fuel oil generated power to fill the gap that has been created by the decline in the production of hydroelectricity. The ERC has said this decision has been occasioned by the failure of the March-May long rains, which has reduced water levels in the country's hydroelectric power reservoirs.
The cost of electricity has largely remained stable for the last 6 months. But that is about to change, according to the Energy Regulatory Commission. The regulator has announced that the fuel cost charge imposed on electricity consumers will increase this month by 39% from 5 shillings and 19 cents per unit to 7 shillings and 22 cents per unit. In a statement, ERC has said water levels at Masinga Dam, which is the main reservoir for the Seven Forks Cascade, has dropped to 32.6% of its capacity following the failure of the long rain season. Power generating company KenGen has now been forced to reduce its generation of hydroelectricity by 210 megawatts during evening peak hours and 460 megawatts during the morning peak as a means of rationing the utilization of hydroelectricity. Hydroelectricity currently constitutes 60% of Kenya's installed power generation capacity. The ERC has, however, said that the fuel cost charge will be reviewed once the national grid begins to receive 280 megawatts of geothermal power from next month. The additional power will be injected in 4 phases at 70 megawatts each between 24th of June to 15th of September. Denis Otieno, Citizen Business.
Staying in the energy sector, local oil marketers are pursuing compensation from the government for the losses they have incurred over the last 12 years in the process of refining their crude oil imports at the Kenya Petroleum Refinery facility. David Ohana, the managing director of Kenol Kobil, has said oil dealers are currently in talks with the Ministry of Energy to bring closure to that matter. This as uncertainty hovers the future of East Africa's sole oil refinery, which has been on an indefinite closure since December last year.
In general, we are pursuing as an industry what we call as an industry the Deloitte report. Remember, I'm the MD of Kenol Kobil, but I'm the chairman also of the Supply Coordination Committee. And as an industry, we are in discussions with the government about yield shifts and to close the old chapter of KPRL as it's been closed now for a few months. And to see how the oil industry will be compensated on some stocks that we missed out getting it out of refinery over the many years, close to 12 years there or 15 years. And this one is in discussion with the Ministry of Energy.
The refinery has not been formally closed as it were, but we know it's not been operational for quite some time. And the market requirements have been met almost, well, I would say 100%, since, was it sometime last year, through direct imports. So I do not expect formal closure, if it happens, to have any impact on Kenol Kobil business as it were.
Tourism industry stakeholders are meeting at this hour to deliberate on the state of Kenya's tourism sector. The meeting is being held a day after the government lambasted the United Kingdom for warning its citizens not to travel to Kenya. And as Bella Genga reports, at least 300 tourists have left the country so far, with numerous hotel bookings having been cancelled following the issuance of travel advisories by the UK, France, the US and Australia.
A strongly worded statement from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is the government's rejoinder to the governments of the United Kingdom, the US, Australia and France, which have warned their citizens against traveling to Kenya, citing rising insecurity in the country. The statement, signed by Foreign Affairs Principal Secretary Karanja Kibicho, has termed the advisories as, quote, unfriendly acts coming from our trade partners who have borne the brunt of global terrorism and understand the repercussions of the terror menace, end of quote. These sentiments have been supported by the Kenya Tourism Federation and the Mombasa County government.
Issuing travel advisories to us is most unfortunate, and we take this opportunity to ask our brothers in the United Kingdom to lift that ban. They too have a lot of interests in this country.
The UK currently tops the list of Kenya's 5 biggest tourist source markets. Tourist arrivals from the UK dropped by 19.5% last year to just under 150,000 tourists. According to the tourism operators at the coast, more than 300 tourists are currently being evacuated from Mombasa County on account of the newly issued advisories.
We have always said that we have been problem, but this is now a real problem. And we need the government to come and help us, because it will be difficult to sustain the business when the tourists are taken away on a drastic situation like this.
It is now feared that the issuance of travel advisories against Kenya could push the tourism sector further down, barely a month after the government announced that revenues from the country's second highest foreign exchange earner dipped by 2% in 2013 on the back of an 11% decline in tourist arrivals. Bella Genga, Citizen Live at 1.
Meanwhile, the Kenyan shilling weakened further against the US dollar during the mid-morning trading session. The local currency's prospects have been further dimmed by sluggish tourist arrivals occasioned by the issuance of travel advisories by Kenya's top tourist source, which is a story that we just heard. Markets coupled with lower prices for tea and coffee exports, which are among the country's top sources of hard currency. The shilling was quoted at an indicative mean rate of 87 shillings and 30 cents buying, 87 shillings and 47 cents selling to the US dollar. The shilling lost ground to both the sterling pound and the euro to exchange at 146 shillings and 59 cents buying versus the pound at 119 shillings and 65 cents buying against the euro. The local unit stood at 28 shillings and 92 cents buying versus the Ugandan unit and at 18 shillings and 81 cents against the Tanzanian shilling. Wahiga Maura brings us the sports news after this break.